standing here in the far back corner of my yard. I'm looking at how I'm transforming this and what my plans might be to make the terraces better. This is not just a one-year plan. This is something that has to be done over the next several years, and that's why I'm using the straw bales. By replacing the eroded back fence line here, this gives me a pathway where I'll be able to plant some long-term bushes along this easement once I get the new cattle fencing set in place. So that will create flowering bushes along the back a little at a time. The back corner is still going to remain sort of my holding corner for eventual compost and garden goods. You can see my girls love this big backyard, but it's a big job. I love having jobs to do. But my thoughts are to change this somewhat. I absolutely love the way it sounds today. It sounds like going back to school weather. It's mild under the trees here, not so hot. The breeze doesn't seem so humid. And after watering yesterday, everything is greening up. Even the new grass seed is coming in very well. Yeah, you could see how big the drop is for my yard and why this is a constant thought for me of how I can make this more usable space. And I think I've come up with pretty much my last plan of what I plan to do back here. So I'm going to just take a little walk up the hill here. And all of my straw bales, these here are all 1-year-old straw bales. And you can see they're not as fresh as what new bales are. They break down and they make really good compost. So my plan is here is to make a second fence line. And you see that big tree right there, that big pine tree that I'm closing in on here? That one is about halfway to the yard. My backyard is approximately 50 foot by 50 foot. My intent is to put a fence line right there so that I can divide the yard almost in half, about where this row of bales are. And the reason the bales are set this way is that I was already thinking about this last summer and putting a halfway fence line with cattle panels there. In doing that, the straw bales are on the back side of the fence line, and so when those deteriorate, they will fall forward and they will bump up against this row of straw bales, creating a flatter surface and a more fertile ground on this clay soil here. So as I keep adding composting and seeds, a variety of seeds, I hope that that will look like something by next year. The two areas on this side, this one here and the one just above it, still have a fairly good slope to the yard. So they are going to be harder to deal with, but they get the most sun during the summer months. And so this is probably going to be my new vegetable gardens next year. I'm going to turn you around real slow. As you come around, you can see there's my compost holding area for garden supplies, rocks, bricks, things for outlining. But the standing cattle fence that I have here will be installed fairly soon. And the pickets, even though they're rotted on the bottom, if we take them off gently, we should be able to cut the bottoms off, and I can then take those pickets and create small fence lines that are movable with my cattle fencing posts. And that way I can keep that little chubby girl, that one right there, that girl named Sadie. Sadie, say hello. She says, no, I'm pretending I'm a cow and I'm eating grass today. She's even been eating the wheatgrass out of the top of the straw bales today. She goes along like this is the best thing ever. What I did temporarily this year is I made this little jut out, which I posted about earlier, above my drainage. And that line is going to remain. So these 1 terrace, 2 terrace, 3rd terrace down, these are going to be my planting terraces. Now this whole terrace here, since it will be behind the halfway fence line, is going to be where I can plant all of my things like zucchini, gourds, pumpkin, squash, potatoes. Potatoes may be on the final terrace here, even though that's considered my meadow terrace. I may plant my potatoes there because that has the sandiest ground, the softest ground there. So that may be the best place for me to plant potatoes next year. And when I walk across this way, this is my little step that I set in here last year, just because I didn't like sliding down the hill when it was damp, and you can see by watering where my water drainage and runoff goes. So I've diverted some of it. Now, when I come past these big 3 pine trees that are still standing, I put this little board here. This board is my marker. This is where the small fence will go. A gate will go here. And this gate will be what I would walk through to get into the halfway point of my yard. So I'm turning around. Hope that I don't make you dizzy. But turning around, and you can see this would be a good place for a gate. It's approximately 3 foot. And then I would extend where my bales go here to stop this runoff, because this runoff goes straight down the hill and out to the old fence here, which I repaired earlier this spring. When I look at this terrace, you can see it still is quite sloped. So as I need to replace and repair straw bales, they don't last forever. As they deteriorate and they add good compost to my soil, I can push those down and they will backfill this area, and then I can add new straw bales each year as needed. Now look at these dumb tomatoes. Isn't this so fun? I was reading this thing online and it said that you can take just cuttings from your tomato plants when they need to be pruned and just stick them in the ground and they will grow. It does just that. It's amazing. So I'm leaving all these volunteer plants. This next terrace up by my straw lady, my scarecrow lady, I took all kinds of them and I planted them behind that row. In this area, this is going to be eventually sort of a second kitchen garden. So there will be flowers and there will be plants and there will be things that are easy to get at, easy to pick. Yeah. So I think the plan that I started thinking about the first year I moved here is finally starting to come together. It's taken a while. Gardens aren't an overnight thing unless you have somebody that can come and do it, but gardens evolve with the way you see your trees are planted around your property, with the way the sunlight goes. You do have to pay attention a little bit, and I didn't do so much of that in the beginning. I just kind of walked out here the first time and said, okay, Cynthia Ray, this is what you're going to do. You're going to plant all this stuff on this hill and you're going to have your own little homestead farm garden. Well, it doesn't work quite that way. So as I'm going along, I'm learning from my own yard, which is really fun for me. People say, why do you like gardening? it's exciting. Each time you come out in the yard, you see something new. I'll post another little clip later on of my little woolly caterpillar that I found today and why they're important here as well. And then there are all kinds of trees here with the different kind of nuts that are here. I've been just putting them in a basket. And so here, this one, I don't know if you can see that. Where'd it go? There. So that'll go in my basket too. And I just keep picking them up and putting them in place. My little trellising and my native plants that I put in pots this year, because they were just little tiny 4-inch pots, they are all coming. I hope they survive. All the little tiny starts that I keep finding from the past few years where everything got buried under the soil, all of my little hosta starts, I just push them in the soil here too. And they are all about the size of my hand now, and they are all coming. So they should winter okay in these bales. Whenever I have pine cones out of the trees that are here, I shove those down in the bales also. I'm hoping, here's one that the squirrels ate first that I didn't get to. But yeah, it's nice because I'm just starting my own little nursery here in the backyard as well. Baby plants grow into nice plants, which makes a happy grandma. And my girls are just loving the weather today. Sadie's up there on the walkway. Yeah, I might change that too. They're not holding the hill very well. They kind of push, even though I have bricks inside of those boxes that I built. But it really wasn't wood that you would use against soil. It was just the stuff I had left over from the chicken coops. And so I just built the stairs because it helps me temporarily. Even like the rocks that I have here with the braces in the ground, those things too are just something that, yeah, they are just temporary until the plans come together. And my asparagus is, my first little asparagus starts this year over here in my boxes. And why are they in boxes? The boxes don't have bottoms. They can easily be dismantled once they're in the next second or third year. And this area here, like I talked about earlier, I intend to just let this grow wild with mint. And it's okay with me if this whole area, if the yard gets taken over by mint, it's okay with me because at least it will hold the soil. I've been protecting this garden over here. This is my little pet cemetery for my 2 baby girls that I laid to rest some time ago now, a year ago and the year before that. And I've planted 3 different types of native milkweed here. So there's one in each of these gardens, one here, one up here, and then there's a tiny one that's further up. So I've been planting that. And this bed here is going to be probably just flowers. I haven't really made a plan for this bed yet, but I know that I'm going to move the bricks there. Those bricks have just been living there temporarily until I get the energy to move them to the front yard to outline my gardens there. And I moved some already and planted some poppies and a couple more bushes to go around the corner of my house. And then these timbers are starting to move from the erosion also, and the daylilies are going to they're just in nursery state here. I'm just letting them grow, and they can stay until I find a new home for them. Daylilies are sort of like dandelions. They come up everywhere. And one of the things I had in the past, you've seen some of my posts in the past, and I planted lots of cannas in the years past, and I just left them in the ground this year to see if they would survive, and they didn't do well, which I didn't know if they would. I thought if I mulched them good enough, but lo and behold, I have one lone canna, and it's coming, so I put a little marker in it so that the dogs don't run it off. But other than that, my girls love this backyard. Did you ever see any happier pets? They are just happy, living the best life up here on those big stairs, makeshift stairs, catching the wind, catching the breeze. I'm watching the people that go riding down the street behind on their bikes, walking with their pets. So yeah, this is a typical Sunday afternoon for me, just kind of surveying what my next plan is going to be. And it's a lovely breeze under the trees here. And I hope you're all having a great Sunday. If you like watching what I'm doing in my little yard, feel free to subscribe to my page. I'm just doing it for fun, but you know what? There's a lot of people who have watched videos already and say, hey, that's just like me. And so that's why I'm doing it, because I'm just like everybody else, working a big backyard and enjoying what they're doing and loving their life and loving their pets. So, all right, y'all have a wonderful, happy Sunday, and enjoy your backyards, whether it's big or small, whether it needs a lot of work or a little work, or maybe you just get the smallest little blessings by healthy marigolds and new rose bushes that are blooming. So there you go. Thank you. Bye now.